Ben of Venrez, welcome to 69 Faces of Rock. How are you doing today?
Doing great. A little early in the morning. Other than that, I'm fine.
Good. So you got this new single. Tell me about it.
Well, we were writing a lot of songs during the pandemic, and then, when that unfortunate incident happened with George Floyd, I was living in a pretty nice apartment complex. I was up on the fourth floor. I had a pretty good sized patio sun deck that overlooked Third Street right there in the farmers market district. And that's where actually the first major riot was. I just looked right over into the street, and I just couldn't believe what I was saying. The destruction and just the mob of people, kind of feeling helpless. And I'm so anti-war and I'm so anti-violence. It really shook me up. And the next day I sat down and I wrote this thing, what would become this single, Each and Every Day. I believe in harmony and peace, and there was just so much division at the time. I think there still is a lot of division in the United States. And the breakdown line, when division is accepted as harmony, that is the day none of us are free. And then that's pretty much what the song is about. And I compared it to literal war, so diesel fuel and army boots. We've got much more to lose. And thank God we got through that period. But the song Each and Every Day is about those events.
Also, you're touring. You're on tour with Buckcherry, right? Are you friends with those guys? How are things going?
Well, the first show isn't until August 12th. The tour bus was in Denver, Colorado, so we all flew to Denver yesterday. And we're on the way there right now. We actually did tour with Buckcherry when we were an independent band. Now we're signed to Pavement Entertainment out of Chicago, which is a Sony rock band. We have Ted Nugent, Dishwalla, Candlebox, Puddle of Mud, and the new all-girl band Plush. A lot of good bands on the label. So in December 2013 into the mid-January 2014, we did a massive European tour with Buckcherry. So we were all friends, and of course that was almost 10 years ago. So I'm looking forward to touring with them again here in the United States.
Excellent. And when people see you live, what kind of show can they expect?
Well, we're kind of we're definitely a current band. I call us an epic alternative rock band, even though alternative rock charts have some different people than you would have in the 90s on it. We're a four-piece. We're just an extremely lean, mean machine. It's a very big rock sound, but we have amazing two-part harmonies. I think that's why a lot of people think we're kind of a modern Alice in Chains. I don't think we sound like Alice in Chains. My vocal has a lot of baritone like Wayne and Chris Cornell, a little bit of Jim Morrison. But it's melodic, but it's hard rock. It sounds like something you might have heard before at first if you're new to us, and then quickly realize it's something new.
Can you give me a little bit of a history background for Venrez?
The history's pretty interesting. I always liked to sing. When I was 17, I had a good friend who was a guitar player, and we knew a couple rich kids. One was a drummer, the other was a bass player. The drummer had his own rehearsal studio, and in those days, we didn't start to write any original music. We just started jamming in there and doing David Bowie covers. And I guess he must have had a bunch of different people over the past in there, but you know, we got about halfway through what we were doing, and his mom and dad came into the room because wanted to see who the heck was singing. So I figured at that time I had some sort of gift, but you know, rich kids, Encino, San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles, you know, early 1970s. Everybody flaked out, and there wasn't the wealth of musicians at that time where I could kind of try to other people to move forward with. So flash forward about 30 years, and I bought a PA system. And when I got home from work, I would plug in a playlist and sing around and dance. And I had a singer-songwriter friend of mine who'd been very successful who was staying with me part-time. And we had a mutual friend who was a producer and a keyboard player. And my roommate, temporary roommate, Tommy, had borrowed Lance's cordless drill. He called me at work and said, "Hey, can I come over pick up the drill? I need it." And I said, "Yeah, I'll leave the front door open." So I'm halfway through the set. And then you know how you get that sense when someone's nearby. And I kind of killed the iPod, turn around, and there was Lance. He was kind of looking at me like, "I didn't know you could sing. How did you hide this from me for 15 years? We're going to get in the studio." And I'm like, "No, I'm too old. I don't want to do that." Anyway, they pressured me into it. And then Jason Womack, amazing guitar player and bass player, he had been playing bass for Juliette Lewis and the Licks for about 3 years. He had co-written a couple of her hits. They had all kind of broken up that particular lineup with Juliette. And we had a band formed, and someone else was writing the music and the lyrics. The music was okay. The lyrics were kind of lame. I'd never written a song before. And Tommy talked Jason to coming in and playing with us. And, you know, after a couple weeks, he was over and playing guitar. We were singing. The harmonies were good. And we went outside to have a cigarette. I said, "Hey, what do you want to do, man, with your life?" And he's like, "I want to play music full time." And I shook his hand. We fired everybody and brought in some other musicians, and we just sat down and wrote the first record pretty quick. And we just kind of decided to play a show, which I never wanted to do. We brought in Ed Davis, who was the drummer with Juliette when Jason was with them. Michael Bradford, his childhood friend from Mississippi, on bass, and the famous Don Teschner, amazing musician from Rod Stewart, played everything. Guitar, lap steel, mandolin, violin, viola. On guitar, we played a show, and the next thing I knew, we had a tour booked to Europe, and Don didn't want to go. Alex Kane from Life, Sex, and Death was a good friend of mine. I've known him since '91. And he was going to be tour managing, so he stepped in on guitar. And we went over there and did the tour. And, you know, the next thing I knew, Alice Cooper called, Slash called, Buell called. And, you know, we put out 4 really good independent records and toured with some pretty big names. And then the pandemic hit. Right when we were about to blow up. But I changed the lineup before that. We had done a European tour in 2018. We got back. The bass player and drummer had been fighting. The bass player quit. So I just fired the drummer, and I went out and found 2 young kids. Victor Singer, who at the time was 25. He's 29 now, on drums. I got to tell you, man, at 25, that kid was as good as Dave Grohl at 25. If you see us live, I'm telling you, that drummer, he's unbelievable. And then Alex referred Gabe Maska, He was 26 at the time, 30 now. And I just reduced the age of the band. I got two really good looking kids in the rhythm section. And boy, they could play. And we did our last tour, the last quarter of 2019 with LA Guns. He was actually on 3 of the shows with us in Buckcherry. We're doing a lot of shows with them, but on 3 LA Guns is part of it, which is fun because that was our last tour. And we sold out all our merch after 5 shows. People were like, "Who are you?" And we went in the studio, recorded like about 20 songs over the next couple months. And then the pandemic hit. So to end the story, Jason and I were recording demos. I mean, we must have written 70 songs since March 2020 and January of this year. And around sometime mid-April, he came over to put my vocal on a demo. And I was thinking, you know, I'm going to be another year older in January. It looks like no end in sight. Even if I can get out on the road in 2022, and by the way, I didn't. I'm like, I don't want to go out there and spend another year or two to get to where I should be now. So I went up to my recording studio at my place. We do all my vocals there. You know, Jason has a studio at his house, so he records the music there. And I went up and sat at my office chair and computer. He's on another side of the big room, you know, on the recording studio computer and screen. I logged on my email, and right there, first email is a record contract offer from Pavement Entertainment. They'd seen our video on Show Me, and like they wanted to sign us. And I just laughed in my head, thought to myself, you know what, man? This ain't over. It's just beginning. And we signed with them. At the time, we had to record 2 of the songs I'd sent them that they wanted on. They wanted to start with a 6-song EP. 2 of the songs I sent them, Victor was on, but there were 4 we had to record. And he's from France. And at that time, they wouldn't let any of the French citizens leave the country. Excuse me. And all the studios were closed. And even here, you couldn't have more than 2 or 3 people in the studio. You had to have masks on and all of that. So I'm friends with Stephen Perkins, the drummer of Jane's Addiction. I gave him a call. I said, "Hey, man, you know, we just got signed to our new record deal, and my drummer's trapped in France, and I need a drummer for 4 songs." And he's like, "No problem, man. Let's session." So actually, Perk drummed 4 of the 6 songs, and this current single, Each and Every Day, Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction's on drums. And then the famous producer and engineer Malcolm Springer out of Nashville did all the Matchbox 20 hits, many other big bands. He mixed it for radio, and I don't know. We in the 4th week we're at 41, so I think next week we'll probably crack the top 40 here. Curious to see how far up the charts it goes. Yeah.
Well, you never know what could happen. It's difficult to predict what a hit is nowadays. How did you go about developing your rock persona?
It kind of developed on its own over the years. You know, one of the funny things about me is I'm kind of the American dream. You know, I was 54 when I started this band, and I don't look it. Maybe I do now after being on that bus all night long. But, you know, I turned 68 in January. So I want, you know, at first, there were the first few shows, you know, I went for different looks, you know, different types of clothing. I started watching a lot of music videos of artists that I admired just to see what they were wearing, what they were doing. And, you know, we've been around 13 years, although we're really a new band on the rise. especially with this new rhythm section. And I don't know, I think somewhere around 2014 or 2015, it just I just went natural with it, and apparently I have some natural charisma, and I just went with that. So I'm not really quite sure what's going to happen every show. That's what's good about this band. It's kind of like Aerosmith, you know. I see Muse, and I love Muse, and even though it's such a great live show, I could be listening to the record. You go see Aerosmith, every show is different. And we're kind of the same way. We're going on feel. So depending on how the bands feel, how we're cooking on stage, how the crowd's reacting, every show is a little bit different. So we're a very raw live rock band. No question about it.
So what would you say are the ideal ingredients to make the show to be as good as it can be? What needs to be happening, you know, outside?
I think it kind of keys on me. I try to stay humble, you know, because I really am a humble guy, and I'm humbled by all of what's happened. There's so much divine intervention that's happened with this project. You know, you got some bands. I think Josh from Buckcherry might be one of them. You know, we're not an amazing singer like Steven Tyler, you know, but we're good. We're really good singers, and with the players we're playing with, and the songs we wrote, and the music we're playing, it's just kind of like a fine clock that's working, you know, into precise precision. So I just capture and captivate the crowd in the first 30 seconds of the set, and the band, and then I get them involved, and we all just feed off of that. Excuse me. And there just seems to be some telepathic, you know, connection between all of us on stage once we really get into that first song. And I mean, 30 seconds into the first song, I mean, we own that audience, and we designed the set to just keep taking it up a notch, you know, into where it just absolutely explodes with our finale song, Hang the Predator. So this tour, we're playing 4 songs off the new EP, and we're playing another 4 songs that were kind of the hits of the previous 4 independent records. And I think it's one heck of a get your breath set, that's for sure.
Sounds great. Now, as a band, what challenges do you think you are facing in this post-COVID environment?
Well, touring is one of the biggest ones, you know. I mean, there's so many great bands to compete with out there. And the bands, the promoters, the venues, you know, there was so much money lost from 2.5 years of everything just being kind of shut down for that. So, I mean, like last year, they were putting bands together 3 at a time that could, you know, sell out 10, 15,000 seaters. You know, you had Breaking Benjamin, Bush, and Alice in Chains all together on one bill. Then you had Poppy, Jane's Addiction, and Smashing Pumpkins all on one bill. So, you know, the difficult thing about post-pandemic is reaching the masses and being able, you know, radio and video is one thing, but you got a tour, and you know, it finally opened up this year to where it's becoming not quite as difficult. But right through the last year, if you were a new band on the rise, you know, unless Guns N' Roses was your manager or agent, you weren't getting any tours. You know, it's hard to compete with the 6 bands I just mentioned, you know.
Of course. Yeah. You mentioned that you wrote a number of songs. So are you anticipating any new recordings, any new records in the near future?
Oh, we're definitely, after this tour, we're going to go in the studio, and we're going to record another record. I don't know if we're going to do an EP or LP with Pavement. Malcolm Springer loves us, and he works 95% with Universal Studio artists. I mean, Universal label artists. Eric Baker, the radio promoter. Keep in mind, this is the second single off this record to go to radio. The first one was Show Me, and that hit 16 in the top 40. So we're about to have 2 songs off a 6-song EP break the top 40. For a new band on the rise, to remain humble, that's quite a feat. So we may opt out of the contract with Pavement and sign with Universal. Either way, Malcolm Springer will be producing us. So whether it's a 6-song EP or a 10 or 12-song LP, we'll be releasing that in February or March of next year. We'll put out a radio single and look for us to be on tour in April for a very long time. That's the plan. Just not sure which record company we're going to be with.
Finally, at 68, what motivates you to create music and play shows?
Well, I know I don't look too well right now, but I look about 45. I weigh what I did when I was 21. I stay in great shape. I eat healthy. I still feel like I'm 30, man. And hey, Mick Jagger just turned 80 a couple days ago, right? So there's a reason why Mick Jagger still tours, And it's not about the money, that's for sure, right? There's just something about being up on that stage live. I mean, recording's fun, we enjoy that. But there's just something about being up on that stage with a rabid crowd loving your music. It's an addicting thing, man. It's pretty tough to walk away from. So if Mick can be doing it at 80, I still have a lot of years left to go. I just love it. I really do. Sometimes I get on the tour bus and I'm like, oh man, why am I doing this again? Because fans don't understand how grueling it is. 10 minutes before we take the stage, we're probably in our bunks. But, when those lights go on and the music starts, as far as the crowd knows, we just finished a hot shower, dinner, and ready to rock. And so it is difficult and it is grueling. But see, even right now, my band, which is more than half my age, is 2 of them are 30, 1 is 29, I'm 68. They're just passed out on that bus, and I'm here doing an interview with you, so I think I'm good,
You're definitely good.
I take videos of them snoring in their bunks and put it on the Instagram stories. It's really pretty funny, but actually they can't even keep up with me. So I don't know. The powers that be, God, Christ, whatever you may believe in, the power is greater than ourselves. I've been blessed with something. Hey, I was ready to quit in April of 2021. And then right when I'm going to tell my guitar player I'm done, I log on, there's a record deal. It's like, so what people need to understand is, whether you've been around for 10 or 12 years, you got 4 or 5 indie records out, once you get a recording contract, that's when it really all begins. And so I felt like it was just a total new beginning. And I just feel great. So motivation is something that comes very easy to me.
Excellent. Well, keep the fire burning. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Take care.